Hello, good morning. This morning we will study Unit 11, that is about industrialization and immigration. It's a very dense chapter of American history, and I will take you through. So let's see how industrial growth moved on. So it began in the early 1800s and continued steadily up through the American Civil War. However, after the Civil War, American industry changed dramatically. So, machine replaced hand labor, new labor organization, and needs of social reforms. There was an increase of production capacity almost tenfold. However, there were like two speed in between the North and the South. The North were a lot more industrialized, while the South um, kept connected with their agriculture background. Um, so, how this industrial growth began? So, thanks to a new nationwide net railroad, thanks to production invention and new products, and then also bank and investors supplied huge amount of money to expand the business. About new inventor, this is a new typewriter, very new. And then Bell, this is a photo of Bell, who invented the first telephone in 1876. So let's go through industrial growth and social impact. So industrial growth centered in the north of the nation. Big flows of people moved from the country toward the cities, and more than 25 million immigrants entered the United States between 1817 and 1960. There were sharp contrasts between the rich and the poor, and reforms needed to protect the labor who worked at least 60 hours a week for 10 cents per hour. We can now point it out that there were three main waves of immigrants. The first wave of immigrants was in 1815 and 1865, and they were generally German, Irish, and Scottish. There was a second one, immigration from southwestern European and Asian in 1820 and 1890. Like the third and the biggest one was right in our time in 1880 and 1914, with more than 650,000 persons per year. So what the South and the farmer? So the war-torn South was not keeping up with the same pace. The economy remained linked to agriculture. So American farmers suffered and hardship and after the Civil War. However, there were new agricultural equipment and techniques which increased reproduction, but the government sent the reforms to the industry sector. Next unit, we will go through still like the open wound of a black integration that turned the South. Until we get into the like a civil right movement with Martin Luther King. At the time, for 2 terms, was President Theodore Roosevelt, and he was a very innovative and a reformer. He was a liberal Republican who called for a square deal for all Americans, and he often supported the laborers in strike against the employer. So he won the Nobel Prize for Peace in 1906 for mediating an end of the Russian-Japanese War. So he increased U.S. role in the world politics, regulated the trust that dominated the economy, the railroads, the transport, and fought against political corruption. So here we get a picture of immigrants enter the United States. So here is an open discussion. If you were in class, that will be your time to speak. And here is a virtual trip of Ellis Island. That's very interesting. Ellis Island is an island that is next to the Statue of Liberty, next to New York City, where all the immigrants were kept for a quarantine. And then were discharged from the ship and kept there, where they were organized and then selected, and then after a period of quarantine, they were sent to the area where labor was needed. So here we have a landmark at that time. But it was a time of a lot of industrial achievement. This is a Brooklyn Bridge. Here is a story how it was built, and here are all the characteristics and why it's still a landmark now. And here you get the video on Brooklyn Bridge. So if you're interested to know more about that, just click on it. Let's speak about industrialization. Who are they? We have John D. Rockefeller, and Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Cornelius Vanderbilt. So who are they? So they are billionaires, the new billionaires. John D. Rockefeller was a founder of Standard Oil Company and became one of the world's wealthier men, a major philanthropist. Then later on we will see what philanthropist means. He is like the role model of the American dream: start small and grow big. Here we get another link for it from the story of his life. Then we have Andrew Carnegie, a Scottish born, who was an American industrialist who amassed a fortune in steel industry and became a major philanthropist. Okay, you can read on. Here get a link about his life. So, among his philanthropist activity, founded establishment of more than 2,500 public libraries around the globe, donated more than 7,600 organs to churches worldwide, and endowed organizations, many still in existence today, dedicated to research in science, education, world peace, and other causes. Here we have Henry Ford. While working as an engineer for the Edison Illuminating Company in Detroit, Henry Ford built his first gasoline-powered horseless carriage, the quadricycle, in the shed behind his home. So he then established the Ford Motor Company, and 5 years later the company rolled out the first Model T. So here we get another link for you to know more about his life. Assembly line in car factory. He was famous for respect and fair pay to workers, and he invented the car for middle class. So he made a revolution. So car means freedom. Cornelius Vanderbilt, he was famous for operating boat and ferry and cargo. So now we have a few questions for open discussion. So what are these person characteristics that are common in them? How the business approach differs? And do you see any similarity with other contemporary American billionaires? So now, a philanthropist. So if you didn't know, if you didn't find out so far, here you get like a definition of it. Is a person who seeks to promote the welfare of others, especially by generous donation and money to good causes. In short, a philanthropist is someone who donates their money, experience, time, talent, or skills to help others and create a better world.